Hey everybody, Chevy Nobody Else's Auto. We've had a ton of great new inventory coming in, including some really cool old Lincolns. Let's take a look at one of those tonight. But definitely hit that subscribe button. We've had so much cool stuff hitting the ground, you don't want to miss any of it. The Lincoln we're going to check out tonight is just one of them. We've got some 56s coming up, and we've even got, believe it or not, a Continental Mark II coming up, plus a lot of other cool cars and trucks that have been hitting the ground here lately at Nobody Else's Auto. So definitely click that subscribe button, start hanging out with us on here, and check out some of the other old videos because you don't want to miss any of them. Tonight, we're going to check out this 1957 Lincoln Capri two-door hardtop. Now, when we step back and look at this car, and keep this in mind throughout this video as we check out the 57 Lincoln, there might be some design features that look similar on this car to something you may have in the back of your head and don't even realize it. It doesn't look exactly like it, but as we're looking at this car, look at the lines on it, look at the styling, look at the features, and you may be thinking somewhere, somehow, I've seen some of that before. Well, it's very possible because a lot of this car was based off of the Lincoln Futura concept car. Now, a few of you that probably means something to, but if that doesn't mean anything to you, the Lincoln Futura concept car, after it was done with, or after Ford was done with it, they shipped it to California to a guy known as George Barris, who turned the Lincoln Futura into the Batmobile. So, some of those design characteristics made it onto this 57 Lincoln. So if you see some things in these lines that say, that looks familiar to something, that might be why. Before we get into this particular car, let's learn a little bit more about these cars. We've got some sales brochures, original sales brochures from 1957 on the Lincoln. Now this particular car on the front cover, a Premier. This car we're going to look at is a Capri. This one was a four-door hardtop. This car here is a two-door hardtop. But these brochures are so amazing. You look at the artwork, how the cars were featured, the style, the people, everything they added into these brochures to help sell these cars was amazing. There's the Premier two-door hardtop in blue. We see some of the interiors. The convertible. And there again, I think all the cars in this particular brochure are Premiers. We'll get to some Capris in the next brochure. Some of the features available on 57 Lincolns: electric door locks, power steering, power seat, power brakes, power windows, power vents, push button lubrication. Another Lincoln fine car first. Touch a button and power lubricates front suspension and steering system. More than a convenience, helps maintain new car driving ease. Now that was an interesting feature that not really anybody had. Now some of the luxury cars back in the 30s, Duesenberg for example, did use a lubrication system like this. However, not very common at all on cars of this era. Air conditioning was available, dual heat control, travel tuner radio, also known as a town and country radio in Fords, with a foot switch similar to GM's Wonderbar, automatic headlamp control, and here's our push button lubrication diagram. It shows you what all it lubricated when you pushed the button. So be curious to see if any of these Lincolns were equipped with this. That was a pretty weird option for 57. Let's go to our next brochure, Lincoln for 57, and see what we've got in this particular one. Once again, some more of our Premiers, unmistakably the finest car in the fine car field. Obviously, Cadillac was going by standard of the world at that point in time, so they needed a catchy slogan to promote the Lincoln as a very fine luxury automobile to compete with the Cadillac. More of the same pictures that we had in the other brochure. Although this one will get back into some of our Capri stuff, which is the feature car that we're going to check out tonight. Here we are, Lincoln Capri 4-door hardtop. And here is our Capri 2-door hardtop, which is what we're going to look at here shortly. That's what this car is that we're sitting on right now. And the Lincoln Capri sedan. And once again, our available options for the 57 Lincoln like we saw in the other brochure. Lincoln, unmistakably the finest. So two different brochures we have on the 57 Lincoln. Some of it does overlap. However, we learned a lot of cool things about the Lincoln, and the self-lubrication system, that's kind of crazy. But anyway, on this Capri 2-door hardtop, this car is mostly here and intact, but it's been sitting for a lot of years, so it's definitely rough. It's parts car status, but where would you find parts for a 57 Capri 2-door hardtop? This came from the Lincoln auction we showed you a little while ago. There were several Lincolns here. However, there were a few other 57 2-doors, but they weren't this complete. So that's why I tried to buy this car, because it was more intact. It's just as far to drive, just as much fuel to get half a Lincoln as it was a whole Lincoln. So that's kind of why I opted for this particular car. We can see it's missing a few bits and pieces. We're missing a fender molding here, some little things like that. But by and large, this old 57 2-door hardtop is still here. Has the Capri emblems on the front fender, just like we saw in the brochure, where the Premier said Premier here, these said Capri right in the same spot. Up front, we've got the stacked headlights, the wide front park lights integrated into the front bumper. These were a really, really unique design. You just don't see these cars. Over here on the passenger side, kind of more of the same. We're missing a few pieces of trim here and there, but all of this trim around the greenhouses here, around the doors, around the windows, the quarter panels, all this stuff. Like I said, I don't know where you would ever find it, because there just isn't a lot of these cars out there, but they are an amazing design and they are a great looking car. Obviously, we've got some issues with the trunk lid. It looks like the hinges are broken out of the trunk lid. And sometimes that does happen over the years, where the sheet metal will break away after years of use on these particular cars. However, we can see in there, see the trunk floor is still pretty much intact. So structurally, the car still looks fairly solid, even though it does have some rust in the rear quarters and things like that. Around the back, of course, we're in the age of tail fins. These tail fins were slightly angled out, but they definitely stuck up, peaked way out. Had super cool looking taillights that followed the lines of the peak. Ribbed panels along the rear with the Lincoln letters on it. Backup lights integrated into the rear bumper, similar to the park lights, with the same type shape, only a smaller version of the front park lights. And this super cool rear trunk lock. This is your trunk lock mechanism. It does open, and your key would go right in there. So a really cool big starburst right there on the trunk lid of this 57 Lincoln. Let's go peek inside this car. Inside, the interior is pretty much deteriorated material-wise, but it is still mostly here. We can see all the materials pretty much gone off the seats. The door panels are rough, all the material's gone. The structure is all still here, but a lot of pieces are, all the material is pretty much shot on this particular car. In here, we do have, there we have our door locks. We do have automatic headlight dimmer on here. We can see the Autronic eye on it. This did have the Town and Country radio. Power antenna. Power windows. There's a spotlight laying in here. I wonder if this actually, I think this was probably an original type spotlight. Had the mirror in the back of it. It does say Unity on it. I don't know if this was a factory accessory or an add-on. However, we can see where it came through the dash almost looks like it was made for that, but not sure if that was an OE accessory or not. But the dash is all intact. It's all here, which is important. In the back, we see a lot of the trim back there still there. Rear door panel structure, power window switches. And I do see a little button down here under the bottom lip of the dash that looks just like something in that sales brochure. I think, yep, I think this is our power lubrication button. So let's see what we see under the hood, because if we remember, it showed a little light and a little button in our sales brochure. Let's double check that, because when we looked at that photo in the brochure, let's see what we had here. If we go back to our accessories, where were they at? Yes, okay. There's our power lubrication button. And that's exactly what it looked like. The button with a little indicator light. So let's see what we've got under the hood of this thing. This may be equipped with that power lubrication system. Under here, had some tenants in here before we picked it up. Hopefully most of those guys are gone. We do see, here's our automatic headlight control box to control that. Looks very similar to a GM system, both this box as well as the piece on the dash. Power steering, power brakes, and yes, there it is, chassis lubrication. In fact, check this out, guys. This is an original can. Lincoln Mercury, division of Ford Motor Company, chassis lubricator. I don't think I've ever seen that can. That is really cool. So I don't know anything about this system whatsoever. It's got, okay, if we look over here, if we come around over to this side, we can see all these little lines that are hooked to this control module. So this little can apparently was a can of grease that attached to this, looks like a vacuum controlled module, and all these little lines all went to all those different zerks on the car with grease. Here's our wiring for it. That's really wild. Like I said, that was something that you just didn't see. Like I said, I know Duesenbergs and some cars like that back in the day had that type of stuff, but kind of different to see it on something like this. The fact that it has an original Lincoln Mercury Car Care chemical can on it, specifically chassis lubricant. Obviously this can was designed specifically for this system. That is cool. I don't think I've ever seen that can. I'm super excited about that. I think that needs to go into our can collection. So anyway, but these do have the great Lincoln script valve covers. I got a little bit excited about the self lubricator, that I didn't even pay attention to the fact this does still have the original valve covers that say Lincoln V8 stamped in them. Gold valve covers, black Lincoln with red V8 on them. Really cool looking piece. So anyway, there we have it, the 1957 Lincoln Capri from the big Lincoln auction we shared with you a while back. So stay tuned, we've got a lot more cool stuff coming up. We've got the 56s coming up. We've got a pair of those, the red one, and then the lavender, I believe that was wisteria colored, coming up. And yes, that Continental Mark II, that video will be coming up soon as well. And that's just such a cool car. We're gonna take a look underneath that car as well as on top of it, because there is so much cool stuff underneath that Continental Mark II that we're gonna have to show you that too. When I unloaded the Mark II, I picked it up with a loader and looked underneath it, And wow, that was kind of an engineering feat for its day. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the little Capri. I think these are great looking cars. I think they're very underappreciated cars, and super happy to add one to inventory. I did not have any 57 Lincolns here, and I always get excited when I add something different to the inventory, because if you don't have something here for that type of a vehicle, when somebody calls needing parts for it, you don't have any possibilities. So don't always have exactly what somebody needs, but having a possibility definitely helps. So cool old car. I'm excited for it to be here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for taking a few minutes of your evening to hang out with us. Check out this 57 Capri two-door hardtop. Learn a little bit more about them, including the self-lubricating chassis system that I didn't know anything about. Maybe you did know. If you're a Ford guy, you probably did, but that may be something new to you as well. So anyway, stay tuned. A lot more cool stuff coming up. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for hanging out with us, checking out the 57 Capri two-door hardtop. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more cool stuff coming up. Thanks for watching this video, and we sure hope to see you soon on the next one.